It's been a day of incredible spectacle and symbolism at the Vatican today. Tens of thousands of Catholics gathering at St. Peter's Square for the inauguration of Pope Leo XIV. The 10 days since Cardinal Robert Prevost from Dalton, Illinois, emerged as God's chosen one amongst the cardinals after the conclave. The transformation made official today at the inauguration. The successor of Pope Francis receiving the symbols of his office, receiving the fisherman's ring of St. Peter, carrying the keys of the kingdom and a fisherman's net, and a mass for the faithful too. Tens of thousands of people, as you saw, waiting in St. Peter's Square to hear the mass, setting the tone for the papacy, a call to stop exploiting nature, to stop marginalising the poor, and for lasting peace in multiple wars raging around the world.
We cannot forget our brothers and sisters who suffer from the war. In Gaza, children, families, elderly, those who have survived or suffering from hunger. In Myanmar, new hostilities have claimed innocent young lives. The martyred Ukraine is waiting for negotiation for a just and lasting peace to finally happen.
2 weeks ago, Cardinal Robert Prevost from Chicago walked into the papal conclave, not as the front runner to be God's chosen representative for the Catholic Church, and is exactly 10 days since then. This is also a strangely familiar spectacle of the new Pope in the Pope-mobile, though needing to adjust for the new man and the new face in office. And amongst the congregation today, several world leaders managed a brief meet and greet, from J.D. Vance to Mark Carney. Peruvian President Dina Boluarte was there as well. Here's J.D. Vance. You see Mark Carney here as well. It is worth saying, though, the first chosen audience with the Pope was for Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. So that is the inauguration today. Let's go to Rome. Let's speak to somebody who has followed and been a long-time watcher of popes past and present, Andrea Antonio Verardi, who's Andrea's Associate Lecturer of History and Cultural Heritage of the Church at the Pontifical Gregorian University. Great to have you on the programme, Andrea. First of all, your thoughts on today.
Thank you for your kind invitation. So today we look a lot of symbols for the inauguration of the pontificate of Leo XIV. We know that he was pontiff from 10 days almost, but today he received the symbols of the magisterium of St. Peter's. He received the ring of the fisher and also the pallium, very ancient symbols that represent the power of St. Peter's, and also what his successors need to do for the Church. And it's important that Pope Leo underline the way in which he decides to be successor of St. Peter's, and he used the homily to represent its role as the Good Shepherd that will bring the Church to unity, but without a use of power, only to remember, to faithful of the people, the centrality of Christ, and also the need to be open to the people to search peace.
Andrea, tell me about your own thoughts of Cardinal Robert Prevost becoming Leo XIV, the transformation that we've seen in 10 days. Have you met him and spoke to people around him? As just fascinating to see, I think, on a world level, how a man goes to be the messenger of God, and the physical and mental transformation that we see as we watch him become and go into the office of Pope.
Guess what? It's very interesting. We have two homilies, at the start of the just after the election and today. he refers in both homilies to the needs of unity for the church and to support the research of peace all around the world. It's a very relevant as mission for its role and for the role of the church. And also relevant that he speaks always as church, Catholic Church in mission, open to spread the gospel all around the world and define love and attention to poor people as the core of this message. Sorry.
No. It is really interesting just that as you talk about this transformation of character. I'm just interesting today. We also saw the brother of Pope Leo, Louis. It was very interesting because, as I'm sure you saw, he'd been giving interviews to some of the US networks. He talked about, and John, his other brother as well, how this is somebody who is cardinal on a weekly level would call them up, play Wordle on the phone, that this was Rob to them, that they hadn't adjusted yet, they didn't know what they were going to call him on the day that they saw him as Pope. Today we saw them hugging. His brother Louis said before, when I see him, I'm going to give him a noogie, he said, a rub on the head. Rob, what's happened? What's going on? So there is that incredible transformation there, isn't there?
Yes, it's a very interesting. He managed to maintain a very human action. A brother met the other brother in a very crucial moment of their life, and was a very easy way to manage the situation in a family. It's a complete novelty in front of the previous Pope. Francis broke every network with his previous family in the moment which he became Pope. Leo is more human in the representation of this in his magisterium, in his action also. During this week, he talk with the diplomats, but also with the Catholic schools, and ask to put in the center of the action Christ, but in a easy way, with a clear theological definition of the scope of the church, of its role. It's very interesting because it's so human. It's so like the message of Augustine.
You've hit the nail upon the head. It's that sense that you can completely understand on a very human level in a way which, as you say, was different to Francis in a sense of the family not being immediately distanced. And I think that was one of the fears of Louis. He said, what happens if my brother becomes unavailable to the family? He's not Rob to me. Do I just have to say the Pope, and am I out of that circle? And to clarify, anybody watching, there was no noogie, there was no rub of the head, as Louis said he wanted to do with his brother. It was a very brotherly hug as well. And I think it gets to the point of something we heard in that homily as well, doesn't it, Andrea, that he talked about that he doesn't want to be seen in office as becoming the autocrat. Tell us what you think he meant by that.
Yes, it's try to recover the role of St. Peter as appointed by Jesus as good shepherd, but good shepherd in love, not to act with power against the other church or in connection with other different offices of the church, but to be open to support the other, to have a clear comprehension of the needs of the other and support, but a clear center of this way together that is Christ. It's very interesting.
Can I ask? Let me ask you,
perception of.
Andrea. Let me ask you two things, which is what you made of the fact that the first audience, Real, was political with Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine, and also where you think his first foreign trip might be.
I think that he tried to act with Vatican diplomacy to solve the two big war all around the world in Israel and Ukraine, and also tried to maintain together the different sensibility in the church. No, he spoke in the homily about unity and peace. And I think the scope and the immediate and the next future of its pontificate could be the research of resolve the war in both situation and to maintain together the different sensibility of the church.
We're just watching both Pope Leo in deep conversation there, it looked like, with François Bayrou, the French Prime Minister. It's also worth just a quick mention to you on the fact that he hasn't chosen to live in the same quarters as Pope Francis did. He wants to live in the quarters that were shunned by Pope Francis. What do you make of that?
We have seen a restart of dialogue with the United States. We have seen in the first speech he not use English. That was a strategy of communication. Was a United States pontiff, but that decided to represent himself as Bishop of Rome, Pope of the Universal Catholic Church, and with a very strong connection with Latin America, with Peru. But restart in the second day, he used English in the second homilies after the election to reconfigure the dialogue with the United States. And there is, I've seen a good connection with Rubio, and we will see the next day how the situation will start to be reconfigured by the Vatican diplomacy. That was interesting. We hope we will wait novelty. Yeah.
Good to talk to you this evening, Andrea. Thank you very much for your time. Andrea Antonio Verardi, who's a long-time watcher of Popes past and present, Associate Lecturer of the Pontifical Gregorian University. Thank you.